It was 6 p.m., and Joan, a community health worker for the local community health center, was ready for her 2 meetings in the neighborhood. The first was with Daniela Ramirez and her son Juan, who had type 1 diabetes. Juan's diabetes was pretty well controlled, particularly since their community health center had provided a biomonitoring wristwatch that alerted Juan, his mother, and the CHC team whenever there was a problem. Tonight, Joan would help Juan with his difficulties in math class and his being bullied in school, which had the potential to make his health issues worse. Joan helped get Juan a math tutor and providing some advice on the bullying. Joan was satisfied that they had enhanced Juan's care while keeping costs under control. Joan's boss was pleased too. Improving outcomes and controlling costs were 2 of the key metrics on which the community health center evaluated her work. The other metric was her effectiveness in improving population health, which was the purpose of Joan's next meeting, where she worked with a group of patients to build community and to identify community issues that were affecting their health. Her patients were concerned with a recent increase in gang activity and the quality of food in the local stores. Joan promised to work with the police on the rise in gang activity. She also encouraged her patients to support the community gardens and local farmers market while pressuring the grocery stores to improve what they sell. She knew how important these non-medical issues were for the patient's health. Efforts to reduce the federal deficit in 2012 came on too strong, too soon, kicking the economy while it was still down. And already fragile consumer confidence was shattered. Housing prices dropped further, and deflation set in. By mid-2014, real GDP had declined by 11%, and economists were calling it a depression. Over 30% of the workforce was either unemployed or underemployed, and real wages had dropped to their lowest point since the mid-1960s. Many worried that a continuing depression would destroy tens of millions of jobs, derail the global economy, and ruin our children's future. In politics, a creative center emerged to champion both strong government action and a focus on improved efficiency and personal responsibility. Concerns about the deficit were still taken seriously, but restoring economic growth was universally viewed as the top priority. Most importantly, the Depression's devastating effects galvanized a value shift toward fairness and sustainability. Just as the New Deal and the Great Society had emerged in response to the perceived injustice of high rates of poverty, the Depression of 2014 and 2015 forged a new consensus that the economy had to work for everybody, that there were minimum conditions that should be met, not only in income, but also in opportunities for healthy food, shelter, education, safe neighborhoods, and social inclusion. Gross inequalities in income and wealth, when so many were living in poverty, were no longer acceptable. An economic stimulus package was formulated with bipartisan agreement that invested in new infrastructure for energy, transit, and communications. A new clean energy R&D initiative aimed to catch the U.S. up in this fast-growing global industry. Government agencies responsible for health, housing, education, law enforcement, and juvenile justice developed collaborative, lower-cost, client-centered approaches. Policymakers expanded the Earned Income Tax Credit, the Child Tax Credit, subsidized housing, school lunch subsidies, and food stamps. Funding was increased for childcare, preschool, and Head Start. Stronger work requirements for receiving government benefits were put in place. In the financial realm, payday lending was closely regulated, and a financial transaction tax was enacted to discourage speculation. Credit unions proliferated, and several states created state-owned banks on the model of the Bank of North Dakota, which had been created early in the 20th century to provide credit to local farmers and businesses. School improvement was seen as an essential part of the anti-poverty strategy. School days and the school year were extended, with after-school programs filling the rest of the day when parents were at work. Performance-based compensation was used to reward excellence in teaching. Social media and so-called serious games were incorporated into learning in the classroom and at home. A new National Education Foundation was founded to support R&D of new methods and assessments. Across the country, communities worked together to improve education and to keep kids in schools that worked. The Depression was deep but short. By the late 2010s, successful policies to restore economic growth had made the public much more optimistic. Growth made it easier to reduce deficits and allowed for new initiatives to prevent vulnerability, such as the redevelopment of blighted areas using low-cost, modular green designs. By 2030, the Depression of 2014 to 2015 is just a memory, and the U.S. has become a far more equitable society. Urban and rural communities are protected from vulnerability through a large number of programs and supports appropriate to their circumstances. There is widespread agreement across the political spectrum that if we maintain the course for another generation, we will nearly eliminate avoidable vulnerabilities.